Hello, and I'm so happy that you could join me in painting this winter scene. Earlier this month, the Dallas Branch Library actually had a virtual painting and pastries with Paige. So if you missed it, now is your chance to see what we painted and to follow along on your own at home. So today we're going to be painting this winter barn scene. All you'll need for this scene is a reference picture, paintbrushes. I have a variety of sizes, going from large to small. So any kind of paintbrushes that you like and you want to use, you can use them. I have a cup of water to clean my brushes with. I have a plate to mix my colors if I so desire. I have a towel. I'm trying to be a little bit more eco-friendly, so I'm using a towel, an old towel that I had at home to clean my paintbrushes off after I've put them in the water. Finally, you're going to need your paint and your canvas. So I'm using a canvas panel that you can get at Walmart or Dollar Tree or Michael's or Amazon, anywhere you want to buy your paint supplies. And then I'm using white paint, this sand colored paint, a brown, a green, a red, and black. So once you have all of your materials, we can get started. Okay, so now that we have all of our materials gathered, we are ready to paint. So the first thing you want to do is take your white, and you want to paint your canvas. So this step is kind of a personal preference for you. If you would like to paint the entire canvas white from the get-go, then please be my guest. However, I'm going to only paint half of the canvas, so that way I can work on the top, darker sky first. So to do that, I'm just going to start painting from the middle of the canvas white. So once I have a pretty decent layer of white on the canvas, I'm going to use my black, and I'm going to use very thin layers. I'm not going to get a lot of black on my my paintbrush, but I'm going to get some black on my paintbrush, and I'm just going to start painting on the white. And it does not have to be perfectly blended. In fact, you don't want it to be perfectly blended, because you want that cloudy, dark sky look, and that way you're going to accomplish that is by doing very small amounts of black mixed with your white that is still wet, and having an imperfectly mixed sky background, just like I'm doing right now. And if you need to add more white, then you can. This is your sky. No sky is the same, so you paint your sky how you want. Okay, I think that looks pretty good for me personally. So I'm going to move on. So my next step will actually be to paint the bottom of the canvas white. So I'm going to get more white and finish painting the canvas. My next step is going to be to let this dry completely. And once it's dried completely, we will move on. Now that it's dry, I'm going to take my red and start painting my red barn. If you would like, you can color on the back of your picture with a pencil and then turn it over and trace the image onto the canvas. I, however, am going to do it freehand. So I'm just going to decide how big I want my barn and make my 2 sides so that way I know where to stop. And then I'm just going to draw the outline of the barn. Don't forget the roof. And once I have the basic outline, I'm going to fill in the barn. And this is why you want to let it dry completely. Because if it wasn't dry completely, your background and your foreground would be mixing. And you don't want that. You want to do a couple layers to kind of make that red stand out some. You may want to let it dry completely and do another coat of red. And I think that's what I'm going to do. So while I wait for that to dry, I'm going to take my brown and I'm going to have my white on standby. And I'm going to start painting the zigzag path up to the door. So I'm going to get some brown and a little bit of white, and I'm just going to do back and forth motions of my brush like this. And just start doing that zigzag path. And you can start with the brown and come back with white later if you would like. And at this point you might want to use some of that sandy brown color as well if you so desire. Once your path is how you want it, you should let that dry. But I'm going to move on to our big trees on either side of the barn. So for this, I'm actually going to bring in the paint. And mix white and brown to get a lighter brown color. That's a little bit different than the sand color that we used earlier. However, if you would like to use the sand color to paint your trees, then go right ahead. Once I have the color I want, which I do, I'm just going to start painting trees. And like my art teacher in high school said, trees don't have to be perfect. Nature doesn't have to be perfect. Every tree is different, and as long as it looks like a tree, it is a tree. So, let's paint some trees. And just like that, I have two trees that look like trees and in fact are trees. Now I'm going to come back to my red barn. It's not quite dry yet, but that's okay. I just want to add some more layers to my barn. And at this point, if you would like to add the black kind of shadows on the barn, now would be the time to do it while the red is still wet. So I'm just going to get a little bit of the black and just start putting it where I want the red to be darker. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. My next step is going to be adding the snow to the top of the barn. And to do that, you just get white on your paintbrush and outline the top of the roof. Be careful not to mix the white and the red if your red is still wet, because then you'll get kind of this weird red snow, and we don't want that. Nature may not be perfect, but snow isn't red. And you can have as much or as little snow as you want. Don't forget to get that peak in there. I think that looks pretty good. And while I'm at it with the white, I'm going to go in and add a little bit of snow to my tree. Don't worry about your white and brown mixing. You can clean your brush off and keep going. Our next step is going to be adding our evergreen trees. See, we have trees all around our barn. So we're going to add those. And how you do that, you're going to get a smaller brush. You do want a smaller brush for this to make sure that you get small trees. And you can start wherever you want. I'm going to start in this corner right here. And I'm just going to be doing kind of triangle shaped motions, starting on this side. If you look at your picture, you can actually see that there's only half a tree on this side of the barn. So I'm going to do that. I'm only going to do half the tree. And you want to get bigger as you go out, because these trees do get bigger as they go down the bottom to the bottom. Just like that, we have a tree. In my Zoom program, we refer to them as tree green blobs. So that's kind of what they are. And you just want to go and make as many or as little as you want. I'm going to fill it in, and you're just going to do triangle-like shapes, getting bigger as you go down the tree. And it doesn't matter if they mix, because we're going to go back and put snow on the tree, so it'll be a little more defined. And just like that, I have evergreen trees. While those are drying slightly, I'm going to go back and put the finishing touches on my barn. So I'm going to outline my door. Put on my green wreath. To make the wreath look kind of like a wreath, I'm just going back and forth to give it that wreath look. I'm going to start adding some icicles. And then I'm going to go back and start adding snow to my evergreens. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to add some green to my wreath, some white to my wreath, I apologize. And then for a final touch, I'm going to choose one of the colors that we painted. I'm going to actually choose the red. And I'm going to sign my name here in the corner. Well, I'm just going to put my initial, because that's how I sign my paintings. But you can sign it however you want. Then you just let it dry completely, and then you're ready to put it in a frame or hang it on your wall, how it is. Well, I hope you enjoyed our painting and pastries virtual program. I hope this was very helpful, and I hope to see you at our next one.